Last words are a lot like high school quotes. They're the only thing people you probably won't ever see again will have to remember you by. I'm your host Yusuf, and these are 10 chilling last words by an inmate. Make sure to subscribe and ring that bell to get notified whenever we upload a new video. Anyways, let's get wordy. At number 10, Jimmy Glass. Jimmy was a high school dropout with a criminal record in Arkansas. In December 1982, Jimmy and another inmate, Jimmy Wingo, escaped from jail and went on to execute elderly couple Newt and Earlene Brown at their home on Christmas Eve. The Brown's son, Gary Lamar Brown, was the son-in-law of Judge Charles A. Marvin of the Louisiana Court of Appeal for the Second Circuit, based in Shreveport. Glass and Wingo were soon arrested. Both were sentenced to execution in the electric chair. Before being electrocuted, Jimmy Glass was asked for his last words. He replied with this: "I'd rather be fishing," which is so far removed from his situation that his sanity should probably be called into question. Though, to be fair, I guess fishing is better than being electrocuted. At number 9, Jeffrey David Matthews. Jeffrey David Matthews had his execution postponed 3 times, twice by the governor of Oklahoma to further investigate his claims of innocence, and once due to the controversy surrounding the substances they were going to administer to him. Matthews was indicted for the 1994 execution of his great-uncle, Otis Earl Short, after he and an accomplice robbed his home. Matthews shot Short in the back of the head and slit his wife's throat, but she managed to survive. His last words were in reference to the Oklahoma governor. "I think that governor's phone is broke. He hadn't called yet," he said before his execution. At number 8, George Apple. John George Apple was an Australian politician, lawyer, and farmer. He served from 1908 to 1929 as a delegate for the electoral district of Albert, and from 1909 to 1915 as the Secretary of Mine and Public Works, and Home Secretary of Queensland. Apple was convicted of the heinous crime that is execution in the first degree, although little is actually known about said execution. While being strapped into the electric chair, George Apple found the situation suddenly humorous, laughing during the tightening of his restraints. His last words were this: "Well, gentlemen, you are about to see a baked apple." These words quickly spread through the public and became more remembered than his actual crime. At number 7, Robert Charles Towery. Robert Charles Towery was executed through lethal injection, which is ironic considering he was charged for injecting battery acid into his victim before strangling him to execution in a 1991 robbery. That's a bit extreme. The victim was a philanthropist who loaned money to Towery on several occasions and used him as his mechanic, which is, I'm pretty sure, the definition of "don't bite the hand that feeds." During Towery's last moments, he apologized to the victim's family and cursed his bad mistakes. His last words are, "I love my family, potato, potato, potato." The potato reference was a secret message to his nephew. It is a sound that a Harley-Davidson motorcycle makes while the engine is idle, and is a way of saying that everything is okay. At number 6, George Engel. George Engel was an immigrant from Germany who had lost faith in the political process and joined the International Working People's Association. In 1886, a big rally filled to the brim of raging anarchists and labor activists turned violent when a makeshift explosive device was thrown at the police there at the time. The explosion sent 7 people to an early grave. Although nobody could figure out who threw the bottle, and Engel was at home playing cards at the time of the explosion, he took the fall for his anarchist brethren and was convicted of execution, subsequently sending him to the gallows. Before being hung, these were his last words: "Hurrah for anarchy! This is the happiest moment of my life." At number 5, Patrick Bryan Knight. In 1991, Patrick Bryan Knight and an accomplice hunted down and kidnapped their next-door neighbors. The 2 perpetrators locked the neighbors in their basement, and the following night, Patrick Bryan Knight blindfolded them, drove them to a secluded area where no one was looking, and shot the neighbors. While waiting for his execution, Patrick Knight used a website, forums, and mail to ask for the best jokes he could use for a final statement. He decided to name several inmates he believed were innocent and used his own joke. "Not all of us are innocent, but those are. I said I was going to tell a joke. Demise had set me free. That's the biggest joke. I deserve this. And the other joke is that I am not Patrick Bryan Knight, and y'all can't stop this execution now. Go ahead, I'm finished." At number 4, Sarah Goode. Goode was accused of witchcraft on March 6, 1692, when Abigail Williams and Elizabeth Parris, related to the Reverend Samuel Parris, claimed to be bewitched under her hand. The young girls asserted that they had been bitten, pinched, and otherwise abused. They would have fits in which their bodies would appear to involuntarily convulse. their eyes rolling back into their heads and their mouths hanging open. When the Reverend Samuel Parris asked who torments you, the girls eventually shouted out the names of 3 townspeople: Tituba, Sarah Osborne, and Sarah Goode. Sarah Goode was sent to burn, her last words being this: "I am no more a witch than you are a wizard, and if you take away my life, God will give you blood to drink." At number 3, Douglas Roberts. Douglas Roberts claimed he was stoned out of his mind when he robbed and took out Jerry Velez in San Antonio, Texas on May 18, 1996. In a videotaped interview with police, Roberts gave a complete confession stating that he repeatedly stabbed Velez and then ran over the victim's body with his car. A jury convicted Roberts of capital execution in January 1997. "I've been hanging around this popsicle stand way too long. I want to tell you all. When I go, bury me deep. Lay 2 speakers at my feet, put some headphones on my head, and rock and roll me when I'm gone. I'll see you in heaven someday," Roberts said with a smile seconds before the lethal substances were administered on April 20th, 2005. At number 2, Carl Panzram. Carl Panzram was one of the most vicious and remorseless criminals to have ever walked the earth, as he was a convicted serial executioner, arsonist, and burglar in the 1920s. In fact, in his own words, he wrote, "In my lifetime, I have removed 21 human beings. I have committed thousands of burglaries, robberies, larcenies, arsons, and last but not least, I have committed sodomy on more than 1,000 male human beings. For all these things, I am not in the least bit sorry." Ready for his last words? "Hurry it up, you hosier bastard. I could hang a dozen men while you're screwing around." Wow, this guy is a certified menace. At number 1, Jeffrey Dahmer. Dahmer was most notably the Milwaukee cannibal. The man removed 17 men from the earth to satisfy his sick and twisted thirst for blood. He then consumed some of them and even performed wicked experiments on his victims. Jeffrey was a disturbed man, often beaten as a child and neglected. He performed his first atrocity when he picked up a hitchhiker and took him somewhere under the guise of inhaling substances. He then hit the man in the head with a weight and disposed of him. His final words was said just before he got his comeuppance from a fellow prisoner in 1994. "I don't care if I live or not. Go ahead and remove me," he said before being beaten to expiration. Whoa, that was a crazy video. Thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like and comment if you enjoyed the video. I read all of the comments and I appreciate all of the support. Anyways, we'll see you next time.